Vinnie.
And I'm Spectrum.
And we just did the draft. Welcome to more wrestling. Now, we did complete the draft. There's so much to talk about. Yeah, we were able to do a 40-pick draft in about an hour.
Just under an hour
Just
for the
an
draft
hour
part.
for the draft.
Yep.
That's not too bad. That's not too bad. But I'm looking at the list of wrestlers who are now released.
Or kicked over to Raw because they need extra people, or sent down to NXT.
Boy, if all these guys go on your list, you win.
Boom.
That's
I win.
it. Yeah, well, first of all, let's talk about, and I mentioned already, the Usos.
I agree. I mean, you didn't.
I didn't say anything.
You didn't say anything.
Well,
it's very odd that they didn't get drafted, but I think that it just goes to show what it's. This has a lot. This is where we are similar with the internet community.
Yeah.
The Usos have taken a lot of heat for their connection to Roman Reigns,
right?
And they're just being shoved down our throat as this was a tag team. It happened when they were the tag team champions. And
I don't
and
know.
then they kind of fell off.
Slammy Award, Tag Team Champions of the Year.
Yeah, and they did that on a year that they were injured 7 months of the year.
Oh, is that that's the key, huh?
That's what I'm saying.
So this year will be Kalisto and
possibly
and Epico.
But the point I mean, yeah, exactly.
Kalisto and who? Sin Cara.
Sin Cara, but again, two more people that didn't get drafted. Well,
Kalisto
got drafted,
and Sin Cara did not get drafted.
And that to me reads into desire to split them up. The Lucha Dragons, at least to me, is a lost cause. They're and when you look at it, a lot of what was left was those also ran tag teams.
Yeah, we didn't Connor, Victor, the Ascension.
No Ascension, no Shining Stars.
No Shining Stars, Epico, yeah.
And that's what it was. We looked at the tag teams. We said, these teams are not really worth having.
I think that Tyler Breeze didn't, but Fandango did. Right,
and that was literally, I was down to my last pick. I had one left, and I could go one or the other, and I'm more of a Fandango. I'm more of a oh my gosh, what's his real name for him? Curtis, that's not even his real name. But
is that a Fandango shirt?
No, it could have been, but they gave me this instead. But I do have a couple Fandango shirts. I'm not a huge Tyler Breeze fan. I think if the internet community was drafting, they would have drafted Tyler over Fandango for that reason. But I do believe that Tyler, along with the social outcasts that
Heath Slater, I was about to say that.
And even Zack Ryder. Now, Zack Ryder is part of a tag team on NXT with the Hype Bros with Mojo Rawley.
Right.
So his job is still secure. He's just going to be writing on NXT. But if they were to release the rest of them, I mean, Heath Slater, Bo Dallas, Tyler Breeze, those are kind of big hits.
Yeah. And what about our girls that didn't get picked?
The only one that I really have an issue with is Naomi. Tamina's been injured, and so out of sight, out of mind type of situation. But even when she was around, she's always been the second fiddle. They try to turn her into the Beast.
I was really excited about Tamina, and then they didn't do anything.
Right. She came in with the Usos. She was the daughter of... She still is the daughter of Jimmy...
That hasn't changed.
That hasn't changed.
You can't draft that away from her.
No. She's still the daughter of Superfly Snuka, but she's not a talker, and she didn't pull off the Beast like people like the Glamazon did. So we've got Nia Jax on one show, and we got Awesome Kong on the other show. Each show has their women Beast. We didn't need a Tamina. She became pointless at that point. So Naomi is kind of a herder, but Rosa Mendez, I think most people see her as a manager, interviewer, something else, because she's not anything we need.
Yeah. A few of the commentators and announcers that didn't get picked. Did you pick Layfield?
I did. Eventually? I picked John and Otunga.
And you took Otunga too?
I took,
okay,
and that was the mistake I made. I felt I made. I waited. I took Cole early because I felt he had to be on Raw. And then I waited, and then I wanted to get at least 3. And I kind of wanted to give Tom Phillips credit because I think of the 4 I picked, Phillips is the best. But because Phillips is just a Michael Cole, same role, I felt I needed to go 2 more and went Otunga and JBL as my team, and then doing so, I left myself with 2 picks and 3 people I needed to pick. So that's why Breeze didn't make the cut. Going back, I might have just left off Curtis Axel or Natalia. Could have let you pick Natalia, and I could have got Breeze in there. But then you couldn't have gotten JoJo. So
You were surprised that we hit our limit on the NXT wrestlers. You didn't think we were going to go 10?
I didn't. And that being said, I did feel that there were at least anywhere between 3 and 7 more NXT people that could have theoretically got picked.
Absolutely.
Just not that I thought that we were more based in what's currently going on instead of what we hope and pull from the future. I thought that I feel like either the American Alphas or the Revival will come up. I don't believe that they're going to decimate the tag team division by taking both the top tag teams.
Yeah.
American Alphas is just starting a fight with the Authors of Pain, so Revival made a little more sense to me. Also, I was drafting Raw, so I went Revival. Had I gone SmackDown, and I made this comment during the draft, I would have picked Kurt Angle instead of Goldberg. I would have picked American Alpha and set them up as the new world's greatest tag team with Kurt Angle. That's what a lot of people are calling for, and theoretically, potentially could come down the line. There are some reports that Angle said he is coming back, but he won't be back in time for the draft. Some people are saying that's a smokescreen, so that we're surprised when we see it. Others are saying 6 months down the line, Alpha will hand the belts off to someone else, and Angle and Alphas will come in then at that time. So it's hard to say. It's all rumors and speculation. I felt like one of those teams are going, and since I got Raw, I thought Revival was more of a Raw tag team than American Alpha was.
When you look over the list of people that you did draft, and you look at the list of people who are left, who is your one case that you're just a little sorry is not on your team? I have one. I can go first if you want to.
Go ahead.
And again, it's a silly one. I could say somebody I'm going to get a lot of airtime out of, even somebody like Heath Slater or Bo Dallas, who you can use to pump everybody up, and you get the airtime out of. The one person that I kind of still want is Maurice.
I even mouthed it with you.
Really?
I felt that was the thing. I have it marked. I have her circled so we can talk about it. I said, well, no, that's his. Obviously, he took Miz.
I absolutely love what she does with the Miz.
Miz is. I'm a big Miz fan.
I'm a huge Miz fan.
Changed my Facebook photo to Miz with the title the day he won. I love Miz. I think he's great. I'd love to see him get back in the main event picture. I don't think that ever happens. But he went for a good 2-year period right before he left and came back with Maurice, where he kind of got boring. He did the whole Miz and Mizdow. One standout left, and maybe 2 years is too long. But yeah, Miz and Mizdow. Right when that ended, for that time period chunk from Mizdow leaving and Maurice coming back, where I could really have cared less every time I saw him on screen.
I feel like he wants to be the best wrestler instead of just being the comedic fun of the show.
I think that,
if he had his choice, if he was writing his own thing, nobody would ever beat him again. But he's right where he needs to be, and Maurice just exponentially makes that better.
I avoided picking Rusev. I ended up getting him at 7 because you picked the Miz at 6. But I avoided picking Rusev because I see Rusev on SmackDown and Miz on Raw.
Absolutely.
And I assumed, I guess in my brain for some reason, assumed you pick Rusev. And as soon as you did, I even said I was going to pick the Miz here. But that's okay. I'll wait till 8, let him pick Rusev.
He's saying I'll pick him here. He ended up picking Randy Orton, which I was eyeballing Randy Orton.
Right. So
if you had picked the Miz, I would have ended up with Randy Orton.
Right, and then I still would have picked Rusev. So it kind of worked out similarly. But that reason I ended up with Rusev, and again, I said I wanted to pick SmackDown. For me, the reason I ended up hoping to pick Raw were certain aspects like the Revival and Goldberg and things like that I really splitting up Luke Harper. I see Bray Wyatt as SmackDown, but I want to grab Luke Harper to separate him because I really want that to happen. So that's the stuff that made me want to draft Raw. But wanting to draft SmackDown was I want to make the top 3 heels Bray Wyatt, Kevin Owens, and Rusev. That's what it should be, with Baron Corbin being the next guy up. That to me is what SmackDown should be. So it's like avoid. I would have given you Randy Orton if I was drafting SmackDown. I would have given and that's kind of how I pictured it. So I had so much in my eyes of what I wanted to do, depending on what I could do, depending on what show I got, and that's why things like you were able to pick Kevin Owens and the club as a 1, 2, 3, because I was like, I'm on Raw. I don't want to be picking Kevin Owens, but I can't justify not picking him here. I'll take I literally picked the New Day so that you could pick 3 in a row and grab Kevin Owens, because I figured you had to take him in one of the next 3 picks.
And you were right. As soon as you did that, I went, well, I'm getting Kevin Owens, and I went with the rest of the club after that. I went with Anderson and Gallows. And I almost was looking at, it's still available, Kevin Owens, Randy Orton, Rusev, Miz. There were big names out.
That's when you say, do I pick one and use 2 to pick Enzo and Cass?
Enzo and Cass is what I wanted.
I see all that. Dean Ambrose was still available.
Yeah, Dean Ambrose.
So there was definitely, and that's what I was saying. I was like, there are the number of people that are there versus the number of people I want. You had Owens, Rusev, Ambrose, Jericho. Those were the ones that I wanted you to. Well, not Orton, but Owens. Yeah, I said Owens.
Yeah.
Those are the ones I wanted you to have. So I felt if I gave you 3, I can justify not picking these people, because that's what he's going to do. He's going to pick Owens. He's going to pick Dean Ambrose, and he's going to pick Chris Jericho. That's what I was seeing in my eyes. And if he put Randy Orton instead of Jericho, I could live with not having Randy Orton. But when you went Gallows and Anderson, I was like, all he took off the board there was Owens. I still can't pick, So there was a lot of strategy in how I picked.
And in my mind, you grabbed the tag team, and I was like, you know what? Grab a big name and then a tag team. And the tag team that made sense to grab at that point, I had AJ. I took Anderson and Gallows, hoping I could get something later. My question for you is, your number 1 pick, Roman Reigns.
Absolutely.
Number 2 pick for you, 3rd pick of the draft, Seth Rollins. After that, you went to the New Day. I very much wanted the New Day. How'd you do on tag teams? You got enough for a division, or are you putting people together? I think we're both putting people together.
I've got the New Day. I've got the Golden Truth. I have the Revival that came in.
Right.
And then I think at that point we're putting people together. Sadly,
I think I might have 3 too. I've got the Dudley Boys. I've got the Club.
You actually, yeah, you have the Club, you have the Wyatt family, and you have the Vaudevillains. So you actually have 4.
And with the Dudley Boys, right?
Yeah. You actually made, and what I did was I kept taking one person from a tag team, one person from a tag team, one person from a tag team. So I have
Sheamus and Del Rio.
Right, and you could throw that back together, and that's the thing. You could throw it back together, but we're not talking. He's gone.
Poor
Barrett.
Guy, man. Barrett.
Again, if I'm picking SmackDown and Barrett is still on the roster, he's a top 6 pick for me.
I'll tell you what.
He should be the.
I should have went off and got Barrett. I should have used
instead
of Awesome Kong. I don't know what I did.
No, you didn't even get Awesome Kong. You never used your second.
I switched back. Now, I thought about it. No, I got sidetracked and ended up doing something else.
Yeah. So I'm happier with my women's division on Raw than I am with the tag team.
List out your women. Who do you have?
I have Charlotte.
Right.
Sasha Banks.
Yeah.
Becky Lynch.
Okay, yeah, you did pretty well.
Nikki Bella.
Yeah.
Emma. Nia Jax. And Natalya.
Not bad. And I was going for Natalya. I had already crossed her off for my next pick when you picked her. Mm-hmm. What was your... and you didn't see me do that.
No, I had no clue.
Because I've got tape. I'll go back and watch.
No, you can go back and watch.
All
I didn't see you do it. I went in saying 6 is a minimum. I need 8. And I think I only got 7. So I'm a little sad. I wanted one more woman. And I was going to take Alicia Fox. When you were doing this whole thing, I said, if you say Awesome Kong, I'm taking Alicia Fox.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then once you did that, the only other woman that I really saw as viable, I didn't really want to spend the pick on Naomi. I would have considered an NXT person,
but we were already at. And that's the next thing we're going to talk about actually in a second. Well, how does my women's division look?
You started with Paige and Bayley, which are 2 very strong ones. I think personally Paige, one could argue that Paige is the best diva on the roster from a gimmick standpoint, from a wrestling standpoint.
Yeah.
Sasha may be a little better than her wrestling wise. I said Charlotte. Sasha may be a little better than her wrestling wise. But I don't like Sasha's gimmick as much as the anti-diva. I think you touched a little on that.
I think Paige is the only one with a gimmick. The rest of them, I mean, I don't
Bailey
think of them
is
as
a
having...
huge gimmick. And
that actually, okay, I'll give you that.
So you got a lot of gimmick stuff and that, but I think those are too strong. People talk about the four horsewomen of Becky, Sasha, Bailey, and Charlotte, but Paige was there first. I guess they formed that after she left or as she was leaving, but she was one of them too. So you got two of the five in Paige and Bailey. But that's where, to me, it takes a step back. You're big on Dana, so that's nice. She has potential. Lord knows I've been down on people in the past that I've loved later on. Whether it be Kurt Angle I didn't like, The Rock I didn't like, Cesaro I didn't like, Hunter Hearst Helmsley I didn't like, and those are four of my all-time favorites. So I'm not afraid to say that when I'm down on someone and don't like them, that later on they can turn me around. Dana may turn into something, but right now she's very raw. It's nice that they attach her to someone because someone's got to do it for her. She's not quite there yet. Summer Rae, right now she's not much more than a pretty face, and some would argue that she's not a pretty face. But that's a whole nother story.
Don't argue that. Don't even post that below. Don't post that.
But you know, that's your fourth. You really took a step up with Asuka. Wrestling wise, she's the Shinsuke Nakamura. She's going to be something that the fans love. I don't love her, but I love her more than, say, Bailey or Summer Rae for that kind of thing.
And my last one was Alicia Fox.
And then your last one is Alicia Fox. It's the last of the last. That's
yeah.
To me, she's the best of the non-wrestlers.
I had 5 and I needed 6.
And that you made the right choice. You did. You absolutely made the right choice. Aside from using your two to go Awesome Kong or Mickey James or something like that.
I like Awesome Kong because I like a monster wrestler, male and female.
Right.
I like Baron Corbin. I like Cass. I like these guys that you can Baron Corbin or Cass. 2 weeks of storyline. They could be the main event. They could be in the main event. You can have them tear through a couple of things and boom.
And eventually you have to think of it as Rusev. Mm-hmm. Once they take a couple losses, then they're not quite as believable. You have to work for it. But until they take all those losses, it's completely believable from the get-go. So, I'm a big... And that's where we are similar to Vince as opposed to the internet community. We have both sides in us. Yeah. Vince is that monster guy. Vince likes Roman Reigns, Titus O'Neil, those big guys, whereas everyone else is like, give us Sami Zayn and Austin Aries and Finn Balor because they flip and fly, and there's something to that. But
you're talking about Vince McMahon and not Vince Russo.
Vince McMahon, absolutely.
Okay, because Vince Russo doesn't like the flippy guys.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying.
Tell you.
Vince Russo and Vince McMahon don't like the flippy guys, and that's what I'm saying. It's like the Vince McMahon side of us are the ones that think that Sheamus is cool, and that Big Show and Baron Corbin and all these monsters have their places. It's the people that cheer for Batista, and the new fan, they are the ones that are like, we don't want Batista, we want Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
And we have that in us too. We love Daniel Bryan. We love CM Punk. But there is definitely a place to be had. Can we say his name? Yes, because they haven't decided to sponsor us yet.
No? Okay, all right.
CM Punk.
When we're looking outside, you go outside with your magic pick and all this other stuff. We talked before the show about CM Punk, and neither one of us wanted to draft CM Punk. Not because we don't love him. We were just trying to come up with something a little more realistic, and we know he's not coming back.
I have said since the day he left that I believe CM Punk will be back in the WWE.
I believe that
but
too.
But it won't be for another 4 or 5 years.
He's got a big match coming up.
He's coming up in September sometime, I think. Best case scenario, if he loses that match,
the UFC
match, maybe WrestleMania next year. If he loses it and decides that it's not going to happen, But even a recent interview he gave, he said he's not coming back to WWE if this all doesn't pan out, then he'll just go and show up somewhere else, Ring of Honor or this and that.
Sure.
So honestly, I don't see it happening for 3, 4, 5 years. He will be back, in my opinion, even if it's just to make sure that he ends up in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
But our attempt to make this as realistic as possible, we decided to avoid a CM Punk.
Yeah.
Sure, in our fantasy world, absolutely, whatever money it takes, we throw at CM Punk and get him back. But that's just wouldn't make it as believable as, say, Goldberg, who signed a contract with 2K Sports to do the WWE thing this year.
Yeah, I've seen him on commercials, and I went, if they got him doing commercials,
right? And
you get him in you got to get him in the ring.
And people are saying,
you saw what they did with Sting. I got him through a match.
Exactly.
They storyline that match up ways and down ways through Sundays. That's a thing
exactly.
People are saying now. Up ways and down ways through Sundays, and we had the whole NWO and the WWE.
Degeneration.
It took a lot to get him through a match at WrestleMania, but they did it.
But at the same time, if you think about once he got going and what have you, the match with Seth Rollins wasn't terrible until he got hurt.
Yeah.
So I mean, they'll work it out, and Goldberg stays in great shape. He's not currently wrestling, but anyone who sees him knows he's in great shape. And it's not like he's having to do Sting-type moves.
Yeah.
He's having to do Goldberg-type moves. So he could definitely wrestle him, a series of matches over 6 months' time.
Should I say something rude about Goldberg?
Sure, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if he's trying to hit his peak of the best he ever was, you don't have far to go.
Right. And I agree. And they'd have to book him and allow it to happen that way. But, he's probably can wrestle right now to the same as he could then, and he hasn't been wrestling for 10 years or something. So
I have a feeling he's going to show up and beat the crap out of us.
You know what? If Goldberg, you're invited to come to the show, please don't beat the crap out of me. But if that's what it takes, come out and you're invited.
I will video.
Yes, he can video. But no, that's the whole thing is people are saying with Goldberg, he signed with 2K Sports. He didn't sign with WWE.
Interesting.
So that's
okay.
That's their way of saying he didn't agree to WWE, and WWE didn't agree to bring it back. Okay. What they agreed to was he'd agreed to take a paycheck to be in the game.
Yeah.
Vince agreed to put him in the game to get a paycheck.
Yeah.
And I understand that, but it happened with AAA. I mean, it happened with Sting. Stone Cold came back to promote his. I just don't see them finding a way to put him on the show to make it happen. Even if they got to swallow some whatever, put him in a match with Brock or whatever, and let him actually win one. But he actually won the one last time. But anyway,
two other things I was surprised about that I have to talk about. I don't know if you have anything as well, but first of all, going off the list and picking anybody who's still available, you didn't pick Tiny from No Holds Barred, the match, the movie.
No, I did not go with Zeus.
Tiny Lester.
Tom Tiny Lester, I think his name.
Tom
is.
Tiny Lester. That happened.
Yeah, hey,
something
Zeus,
that happened.
And the thing was, I considered Zeus the top heel of SmackDown. But because I was doing Raw, I
understand. I understand. We saw the No Holds Barred in the theater, and then made our parents buy the match, the movie, because they had the steel cage match afterwards. Then we watched the movie again, and then watched of course, Macho Man, Hulk Hogan, Tiny Lester Thomas,
and
Zeus,
Brutus Beefcake.
And Brutus Beefcake. There was Hogan and Beefcake.
Yep.
Macho had already turned heel.
Turned to King and had Sherry. So let me ask you a question.
Yeah, sure.
How many times have you seen that movie?
More than I want to admit.
Okay.
More than I want to admit. When I was young, I watched it an awful lot. An awful lot.
And what's your favorite scene?
My favorite scene?
Yeah.
What's that smell? What's that smell?
Dookie!
Alright, we didn't pay for the rights of any of that.
You're right. We're just advertising for free. So,
yes. No Holds Barred, the movie now available on the WWE Network. Is that true?
It probably is, but I don't know.
Actually, I don't think so. I'm waiting for them to add their movie division.
I was.
They have enough movies that they could. I mean, it's not on there.
If you added them and just waited, you wait a year after release to add them, so that people can buy the DVDs and stuff.
Sure.
They don't want to lose out on a $20 DVD sale and give it to you the movie free.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I
wonder
agree
if that's coming. That the video network
library. I hope
video
so.
library.
Or they could even just make it a $5 add-on for an additional $4.99.
You get all the movies.
You get the movies as well, and they wouldn't have to do anything but have it as a locked part of the site that opens up when you pay additional. You said you had one other thing?
Yeah, we were talking about female wrestlers. I'm looking at this. I've got just crossed out, all of our list of people crossed out. And then I've got this huge opening. So many lists, so many available things. What it was the NXT female wrestlers. The NXT female wrestlers we barely touched.
And that's because one of the things is, first of all, there's only one, maybe two female wrestlers that really could be brought up. One is a very distinct possibility, but not for Raw. It'd have to be, and it could be for Raw if Enzo and Kaz are there, but it'd have to be with Enzo and Kaz because Carmella was their former valet, and she, she just went through the fighting for the title thing with Bayley before Bayley lost it to Asuka. She's kind of one of the top, I would say she's one of the top 3 divas right now between her, Nia Jax, and Asuka. So if they were looking for numbers and someone to bring up, Carmella's a very good possibility. She'd have to go to the show with Enzo and Cass, otherwise there's no real purpose to do it at this point. Enzo and Cass are new enough that they don't need her, though. I feel like she could be a rejuvenation to them once their shtick gets a little older.
They got a nice list. I think we had 11.
Yeah, listed. And there's a lot of women.
Of which we picked 2.
Of which we picked 3.
3?
Bayley, Asuka, and Nia Jax.
Nia.
So we took the top 2 of the top 3. If they both go up, you're leaving Carmella and Alexa Bliss as their top 2. And the rest of the numbers that they see there, one of the ones I considered picking, and honestly would probably be my 8th, because I'm going to get blasted here. I really am. Eva Marie.
They wouldn't blast us.
Absolutely.
They like
Eva
us.
Marie is totally just a great heel female. She is great as a heel female. And she's getting better as a wrestler. She's going to kill someone if she doesn't keep working, but she's working. I think she's doing a great job.
Get them.
Get me.
Let me know below what you think of Eva Marie. And let me know if you think that we are right or wrong on this. I have not stated my opinion, and I'm not going to until I see what they say.
Okay, well, that's fine. So, if you pull up Nia Jax and Asuka and Bayley, you leave the division, Carmella, Alexa Bliss, and then Eva Marie becomes the 3rd. And that's kind of a big hole. And the reason that hole exists is because we just brought up Charlotte, Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks, and then Paige right before that.
The Revolution.
The Revolution was their 3 top ladies, 3 of their top 4, Bayley being the one that got left down. And then, a year before that, Paige came up. So, yes, we didn't pick a lot, but that's because they were recently decimated. And if you pick a lot, honestly, even 3 is... I do not believe 3 is going up. I believe that best case scenario 2, and it will be Bayley and Nia Jax. I believe Asuka keeps the title and stays down, and then sets up battling Alexa Bliss and Carmella, and hopefully building there, and then eventually bringing Asuka up.
I don't know if you had anything else.
The only other thing is I was going to go over a couple of the NXT males that could have theoretically come up.
Yeah.
We mentioned American Alpha.
Yeah.
That is very much a possibility. They could theoretically bring up Alpha and Revival. I just don't see them decimating the tag team division like that, because if you do that, you're leaving the top guys as Gargano and Ciampa, the Hype Bros, the Authors of Pain. It just becomes real thin at that point. I feel like Alpha wins the titles from Revival. Revival comes up. Revival has this battle with the Authors of Pain that's just starting up. Eventually, maybe drops the titles to the Authors of Pain, and we bring Alpha up then. But they've got to bring in some more tag teams. Maybe you drafted Bobby Roode, but I kind of don't see Bobby Roode coming up. Maybe they stick Austin Aries and Roode back together as the Dirty Heels, and just to fill out the tag team division.
He's going to be in NXT for a while.
Yeah,
He's just walking through the background, you know.
He showed up in NXT. He showed up on an NXT house show. He hasn't showed up on live TV yet, but he's gonna do a little NXT time before he comes up. The one person that wasn't on the list because he's not officially signed is Eric Young, who's another TNA original that's now with NXT. I feel like NXT is becoming TNA light, or actually TNA heavy. Yeah. Because it's right now. I don't think Samoa Joe is coming up either. I think it's more going to be Finn Balor. Joe's going to keep the title to battle with Bobby Roode, Austin Aries, Eric Young.
Start building these kids up.
All the TNA guys that can come up. Yeah. These guys have done the sports entertainment. It's not New Japan guys who are wrestlers and haven't done sports entertainment. They have done the sports entertainment thing on TNA. Yeah. They're ready. So any one of them could be drafted. But I believe that they're going to create the top of their roster, bring in Eric Young, and it's going to be Joe and Young and Rude and Aries and the NXT groupings to build build NXT to TNA-like levels, and then pull them up to let the what's his name? The new guy that I can't pronounce his name, Andres Almas, who is a huge star, but no one really knows because they took a mask off of him and put him in NXT now. But those next generation of guys up, that's what I think is going to happen. The only other people that I could have saw coming up, I mentioned Alexa Bliss a little bit. Alexa Bliss I don't see coming up, but if they really wanted to throw us a curveball, she's the only woman left. And then her former tag team that she valeted, Blake and Murphy. I didn't understand why they split them. Now they've got, and I still don't know them, I can't tell them apart. I think Murphy, they got Murphy fighting in singles matches, and Blake has just disappeared. I really liked them as a tag team. I liked them when they were the tag team champions. I thought they were going to come up, and I'm talking about back before Vaude Villains, back before Enzo and Kaz. I thought they were going to bring up Blake and Murphy, kind of like I feel like they're going to bring up the Revival now. I thought that they were boring, bland from a gimmick standpoint, but I thought they held their own and they talked well. So I could see them writing somehow, putting them back together and bringing them up because they're kind of done in NXT. But those are very outside shots. I don't believe it. I think that we grab the ones, aside from Jordan and Gable, American Alpha, that really have a chance. You brought up Bobby. If they bring up Bobby, then they also could bring up Austin Aries. That's very realistic. He's been with NXT longer, but still, it's about as much time as it takes to drink a cup of coffee. So, not really that long. But other than that, I think that most of what we've got. I think in the comments we may see people say Ty Dillinger's name.
I expect to see Ty Dillinger. Who's going to say Ty Dillinger? We'll see. Somebody's going to say Ty Dillinger.
If with this we saw a very we made a comment about how the tag teams got kind of thin and they're going to have to start putting people together. If they don't put all the tag teams on one show, they're going to have to start making tag teams. They could bring up more tag teams like American Alpha, like Blake and Murphy if they find a way to stick it together. Or they could just draft Mojo Rawley to stick with Zack Ryder, and now the Hype Bros are on because he's already up. So
I
there
think
are
that's
some
going to
things.
happen.
You think that Mojo
I think
comes
that's
up?
going to happen.
That's a distinct possibility. Mojo Rawley is definitely ready. But with a talker like Zack already attached to him and with a desire to build the division. I mean, Hype Bros are a jobber tag team as it is on NXT.
Mm-hmm.
But you bring them up and you give them wins against teams like the Shining Stars and all the people we left off.
Breezango.
The Usos, Breezango, Lucha Dragons, and they
had
the flavor of the month.
Even the Golden Truth.
Right. And then at least they're the flavor of the month until we drop them. So, but that's...
I guess the final question is who won? It's hard to say a winner because we were leaving people off going, this might go to the other one, this might go, but should we do it?
First of all, we want to hear who you think won. Put it in the chat.
I think I won.
Make sure you put SmackDown 1, unless
SmackDown,
of course you want to be right. Then put Raw 1.
Well, Raw is Spectrum. Raw is Spectrum, and I'm SmackDown.
This is how I view it. I view it from the stance.
I know what you're gonna say. Everybody's a winner.
Everyone's a winner. That's what
everyone's
I was
a winner.
You all won.
We both get trophies, and so do you for watching. You get a participation trophy.
So, click the like button. Click the subscribe button if you want to see more. One of the things I'd like to see from you in the comment section is the biggest reach. I know that Renee Young, number 9, Renee Young is going to be most people's biggest reach, but I want to see your biggest reach from SmackDown, your biggest reach from Raw. I want to see what you guys think. Drafting Summer Rae at 25, he had to pick girls.
I think I'm gonna get slammed for the Miz at number 6, and the Miz. I think I even said this is a bit of a reach, but I definitely want the Miz.
Yeah, and you did. At least you called out your reach. Yeah, I agree. But that's if I'm going. If you're asking me, and I'm not going to say who won but if you're asking me who won, when I look at it, I do have more reaches than you do. And that's what kind of leans me your way. But when I do look at the rosters, I don't say you won.
Well, when I look at the rosters, I say I won. But when I look at the reaches, it's obvious that I won. Do you agree? Thanks for watching, guys. If you want to see more on wrestling, then keep checking back with us. Check on the links below because we also have some other videos out. We have the original draft.
Yes, you have to watch the draft to understand what we're talking about.
Hopefully you have already seen that. If you're here in this video and you haven't seen the draft, watch the draft, then come watch this again. Watch from the beginning.
Yeah. And we plan on putting out a second and even maybe a third draft where we draft how we would book them.
No, that's just ridiculous. Why would any group need to do more than one draft?
Because drafting is fun.
Drafting is fun, man.
This is so much fun.
Instead of doing what we think could possibly happen, we say that, Stephanie McMahon's not in charge, Shane McMahon's not in charge, you and I are in charge, and not only are we in charge of who we pick, we can package him how we want. I can take Paul Heyman and make him a color commentator, a ring announcer, women's champion.
You can start making him, you can say, I'm taking Paul Heyman, and right now he is back to Curtis Axel's manager. And now, you can do whatever you want because he's not just Brock Lesnar's guy.
Okay, well that'll be fun. We'll do that draft, and then you know what we might do? We might even just start our own federation with our draft picks. An other world.
Sounds good. An Elseworld.
An Elseworld. That's what I was trying to say. An Elseworld. It's other world. Parallel to ours, yet.
I'm Spectrum.
And I'm Vinny.
And this was More on Wrestling.
Thanks a lot. We'll see you next time.